Talking about, like Mr. Sullivan said, a really timely topic today, adversity. We are just in it, right? We're in it in so many ways, on so many levels. And I was thinking about that, as I was pulling together notes of, I like to talk more obviously about the parenting aspect of, my topics, and then thinking about how our broad world adversity, like in this topic, world adversity, and even close to home adversity. We just lost a beautiful friend and Maranatha alum mom, and, talk about some adversity that's right close to home, right? And so we have these things that are happening, and then just yesterday, right? Everything that's happening on the world stage right here in our backyard, and how we navigate that ourselves, how we help our kids navigate that, how we maintain space for our kids to talk about what they need to talk about, and to be able to discuss things that are very difficult to discuss and we don't have good, simple answers for. And so for that, I think this topic is good to kind of air it out and to have some I'm going to throw some things out there. I took a different tack. I just threw some bullet points here, and then I'm going to start talking about some different aspects of adversity and its role in self-esteem and confidence building. But I want to, at the beginning, I usually do this at the end and kind of spring, do you have any questions kind of on you or any thoughts on you? But I want you thinking about that as I'm talking too. If something pops up that seems relevant to what you or your kids are going through, and it would be helpful for clarity or just talking through it, or you think that it would be a helpful thing for all of us to be kicking around here, then bring it up. I think that is an important piece, because I'm not you. I don't know what you're going through, and I don't know exactly what is relevant for you in regards to the topic. So I invite all of that kind of either feedback, questions, comments, any of that kind of thing. As we're going through, and certainly in the middle when I'm talking too, if you have something that's relevant to what I'm saying, please chime in. I'm always open to that kind of a dialogue. So the first thing, if you know me at all, I know a bunch of you won't be surprised that one of the first things that when I'm talking about this topic, and we're talking about self-esteem and confidence building, when we talk about self-esteem and confidence, whether it's in our children or in ourselves, self-esteem and confidence are beliefs we carry. So when we boil it down, the degree of belief, or what kind of belief that I carry about myself and my effectiveness in the world, the skill set that I have, how valuable and purposeful it is in the world, builds my self-esteem. So the belief I carry is vitally important, and the belief that our children carry, is vitally important in the way that they engage with the world or not engage with the world, which I see a lot of now in my practice. And adversity is the pressure that's put on us, right? It is the pressure, it is the decision point that we need to then decide, okay, how do I engage with the world? What is my value? What is my, contribution? How do I tackle these kinds of things? And that then dials back to how we engage, right? So our children, when we have adversity, there's a whole bunch of things that are popping up in those moments that I think as parents, if we can slow that down and boil it down to some of those little pieces, I think it will be really, really helpful. Adversity helps our belief in ourself if we carry a belief that I can do hard things, right? So if I have one of those orientations or personalities that, I just do hard things come, and I tackle them, then adversity is a builder, right, of that. If you take an athletic example, this is an easy example that we can draw for adversity. We invite adversity when we physically want to improve. Right, so I always use running examples because I'm a runner, so that's what I know and what I understand. And so when I want to run a longer distance than I'm running right now, I invite adversity into my world. And I do that. I invite myself into all that adversity has, because I have a belief that as I engage with that adversity, strength will build, right? Endurance will build. All of those good things will happen. Very simple. We don't think through all of those little steps that are happening when we're doing things physically, but that is exactly what we're doing. It's a little bit more abstract when we're talking about relational adversity, right? Our little kids aren't invited to the party. Our daughters weren't in the invitation for the Stone Arch Bridge photo shoot, right? And then all of it comes out on Instagram and my daughter is really upset, and how do I handle that, right? It's hard to break all of that down because I'm dealing with the emotion of my daughter. So thinking about it through the lens of, well, what does my daughter believe about herself and her value in the world? One piece of adversity that can help us to build belief. I'm going to jump to another one. The other thing that adversity does is that it will raise to the surface beliefs that we carry that we didn't think we did. And so when pressure is applied, what's there comes to the surface, right? How do our kids react? How do we react? So adversity can be very revealing. It can be really helpful, and we don't like that. But if I can look at, for example, if my child is faced with a really hard paper that they're going to write, and they're avoiding it, and they're avoiding it, and they're avoiding it, what is that telling me? That adversity is bringing up a lack of self-confidence in them. They don't know that they can do it. And so they're avoiding it and they don't want to do it. And so that then helps me to understand, okay, is this one tough? I can engage with that in a way that is a little bit more compassionate and say, do you feel like you don't have what you need? How can I help you with that? Then I can come in, I can support my child, I can help them build confidence, build a skill set, and handle that adversity in a way that would build confidence coming out the other end. One of the things that I see a lot is in my mind I have just a not very professional word, whining about adversity. That is just really common, right? Adversity is uncomfortable. We don't like it, our kids don't like it. Unless we invited it, we generally, our first response to it is, I don't like it, or it's not fair, or and we have all kinds of responses to things that come into our world that are things we don't want to come into our world. Hard tests, bad grades, not invited to the party, a different decision that came, from governing bodies, whatever, adversity. And helping our children to understand adversity just is a really important piece. And there is a tipping point to that. Adversity just is acceptance. This is John 16:33, right? This is scripture that we know isn't, this is exactly from Jesus. This is, in this world you will have trouble. We need to have adversity to build strength, to build endurance, right? Isn't it James 1:2 that count it all joy when adversity comes, as it builds perseverance. And so we need that, but when it comes and we're uncomfortable, we tend to whine about it. And we can get lost in the whining, and our kids can get lost in the whining. And then our children who are with other kids who are whining get lost further in the whining. And so then for us as parents, how do we navigate adversity that comes to our children or to us, and give ourselves permission to acknowledge that this is uncomfortable, right? We get to say that, like, this is really hard. I don't really like this. I don't want to have to do this. And I need to engage with this. I need to make a decision that is thought out, that is in line with my beliefs and values, that stretches myself, that is intentionally uncomfortable, whatever those things are based on the difficulty that's in front of you. But that acceptance is a really important aspect. And there's a tipping point to that, because I'll see people who sit in my office. I mean, obviously I'm seeing people who are having a lot of problems, and one of the big ones is when we see adversity and we take the belief that we have with adversity is powerlessness. I don't have any choices. I don't have any recourse. I don't have any options for success. That leads to hopelessness. And that leads to depression. And so if I have my kid in front of me saying, there's no answers, there's nothing that I can do about this. Stop. That is the point to say, okay, this is in all ask, don't tell, right? Where do you come up with that? What makes you feel like that? Tell me more about why that feels like where we're at right now. Well, I just can't do it, right? Then I know my kid believes that they don't have the skill set that they need. Now I can enter as a parent and offer help in that situation. But one of the biggest things is recognizing, yep, this is going to be hard. Yep, we don't like it. And we're going to engage with it. We are not going to sit back and quit. We aren't going to make excuses. Could get into a whole different topic about blame shifting and about putting responsibility for adversity on somebody else and then not taking responsibility for ourselves. So that's a whole different topic, but an important one to keep in mind. So what am I talking about? Acceptance of adversity, because it is a part of our world, and understanding that adversity has building opportunity. It has the opportunity to bring good things for us, but not a resignation, not a hopelessness, not a helplessness, but an opportunity to build ways that I can help my child to identify what are my choices in this, what are my action steps in this, and then I can partner with them. I'm talking about us and our kids a lot, and I want to skip to, I know I talk about this a whole lot in most of the other topics that I talk about, but our role as parents in not just what we do with our children, meaning how we help them, in this case, individually through adverse situations and helping to problem solve and helping to ease difficult emotions and that kind of thing. But how do we as human beings deal with adversity ourselves? So the bigger thing for me, and I believe it's the bigger teaching point, is what am I modeling in the way that I handle adversity? So when a hard thing comes across my plate or comes across my desk or comes to my attention, do I immediately whine? Do I immediately complain? Am I a blame shifter? Am I judgmental? Am I hopeless or helpless? What am I doing to model for my child how I handle adversity and how I then want them to handle adversity? Is it consistent with what I want to see out of them, what I hope that they do in the face of adversity? The best part of parenting for me, one of the hardest wake-up calls for me in strategies for parenting, was getting my own self straight. Taking ownership for the ways that I was handling different things and what I was putting into the air, into the room with my kids, and showing them this is what it means to handle adversity in a way that is balanced. I'm acknowledging my emotions. I get to be frustrated. It's how I'm frustrated that could be good or bad. And then how do I engage? How do I engage as a mom? How do I engage as a woman? How do I engage as a professional? And I model that to my children, and then they will take that and they will not know why they're doing similar things, but they're doing similar things. So for us as parents, always taking these topics and going, how am I doing this? Are there areas where I'm not modeling really well? Am I sitting and judging an adverse situation and letting those words come out of my mouth in my home? And some people will say, well, I don't do it in earshot of my kid. Doesn't matter. You're living that judgment, you're doing that, you're practicing that, and that is in the soup. It is in the air, it's in the environment, it's being modeled. And so to always be dialing it back. What am I doing? How am I modeling adversity and handling of adversity in my home and with my children? Orientation to discomfort, one of my favorites, because adversity is uncomfortable, right? All the time, even the stuff that we invite, when we are trying to learn something new, grow, do something different, adversity is almost always uncomfortable. I find that emotional adversity is the most uncomfortable. Mostly because we aren't really well practiced in what do we do with emotion, and certainly how to sit with difficult emotion. We as a culture, as a Western culture in particular, we live up here. We live in our intellect. We don't like to sit in emotion. We don't like to ask emotion what it's trying to tell us. There's two things that emotion is doing. First of all, it's giving me information, right? Emotion is information. And the first thing that I do when I have big emotion is I get it from a 10 to somewhere in the middle, to like a 4, 5, or a 6, right? So I cope with emotion. I get it into a space where I can think. And then I ask myself, what in the world just happened? What got me so angry? What got me so anxious? What got me so depressed, right? And it helps me to identify then what is my next step? What just happened there? How can I break that down and understand it? The problem that I see a lot is that when emotion comes into play, connecting it to adversity, right? So adversity in this case being a difficult emotion, we will chase it away. We'll eat it away. I see people drink it away, drug it away, screen it away, shop it away, name it, right? We have an endless list of ways that we chase away difficult emotion, adversity, so that we don't have to feel it. And again, we understand, I mean, it is uncomfortable. We don't like to have to sit in that. We certainly don't like to have to ask it questions, because oftentimes those questions bring up knowledge that isn't easy to handle. But our kids need to see that strategy happening. They need to see us not chasing away our difficult emotion, but being able to face it and being able to do some of that facing in front of our kids. And then talking our way through it, right? So orientation to discomfort. How do I, as a parent, handle discomfort? Uncomfortable emotions, uncomfortable situations, ways that things are that I don't like. How am I handling that? And then I break it down into two kinds of awareness. So I have this phrase, it's push through pain versus stop pain, right? So adversity brings pain, discomfort. What kind of adversity do we have? Do we have the push through kind, the kind that says I lean in, I dig deeper, I ask a little bit more of myself, and I bring myself into a growth opportunity? Or is this the kind of adversity that says stop everything, examine, look deeper, like pray, you know? I use the example with my children. Both of my girls played soccer, and push through pain and stop pain were just, were hysterical in some of their developmental stages. And what I mean by that was when they were little and they were doing soccer, every single bump was stop pain. I mean, they must have had 15 Band-Aids on them at any given point in time, right? You have all the different Band-Aid boxes in your cabinet, and they're constantly having pain, and everything's like, oh, gotta come off the field, oh, you know. And as parents, we're like, no, it's okay, right? Everything stop pain. They don't know how to discern between this one we shake off and this one we stop for. And so as little kids, we as parents have to help them with identifying, nope, this one's not a stop pain, this one's a push through. So we kind of gently go, it's okay, get them back on the field. And then later on, my older child still is a little less graceful. And Corey, he's laughing back there. And she had, I had the unfortunate opportunity to watch her get a concussion in real time. So I watched her get hit in a game, and I watched her fall on her head on the field. And then I watched her try to get up and not be able to get up and fall back onto the field. It was horrible. And she had a concussion and she couldn't play. And this child then shifted from push through pain to stop pain. And she shifted also to not being able to be aware that this is stop pain. So she was looking at stop pain as push through pain. No, Mom, I'm fine. Everything's cool. I can play. Right? So she needed help discerning that stop pain is okay to acknowledge as well. Our kids need help discerning that. We see this academically, we see this relationally, I see this all the time. Our kids cannot discern the difference between push through pain and stop pain. They have pain and they run to a strategy that is avoidant, right? They're eating, they're screening, they're shopping, hopefully they're, but they're maybe running in drugs and alcohol. Like, what is happening? They're unable to navigate whatever discomfort that is in front of them. And then be able to discern, is this push through pain or is this stop pain? Do I leave this relationship or do I engage more? Is this a growth opportunity or is this a boundary opportunity? And as parents, we need to be able to identify this in order for our children to be able to identify this. And so coming back to that concept of orientation to discomfort. That is just a big topic in my house. I think, well, not in my house much anymore, but I think it was a big topic because it was a big topic for me. I recognized that for me, I needed to be a better discerner of push through pain versus stop pain, and therefore be a better modeler of push through pain versus stop pain, and helping my daughters to be able to do that discerning for themselves because they're both adults. The final point that I wanna make is paying really close attention to the adversity that you solve for your kids. I'm talking about the helicopter parenting, dynamic, or all of us are guilty of it to some degree, right? Nobody is completely free of doing some helicoptering for our kids. I think it's a natural, it's a natural thing. We don't like to see our kids uncomfortable. We don't like to see our kids suffering and struggling. I see a ton of young adults right now that don't have the ability to engage with life. And I can draw some pretty strong correlations to their childhood in which they weren't allowed suffering. They weren't allowed to be in adverse situations where then they were required and responsible to lean in and figure it out. That then sets our children up for not knowing how to do it when they're out on their own, when they're at college, when they're in the work world. I have just awful just instances of conversations with my own clients or clients of other colleagues whose parents are sending emails to college deans for their children. I have one where the mom went to all of the job interviews with their son. These are just so, there is such issue with functioning here. There is the inability to function, and that is a direct response to not exercising that ability to manage adversity from a young age. And so as children, or as adults, being discerning about how do we let our kids struggle a little bit, let them know they're not alone, remind them that they have truth and wisdom within them, that they have a loving parent beside them, and that doing hard things means we're uncomfortable, and that we let them step into it, we let them struggle a little, sometimes they fall, and then we help them to identify, well, what just happened there? How do we make sense of it? How do we not form a belief that I'm not good enough? Those types of things. This is the gear grinding parenting stuff that I think we all need to work through, and we all need to identify, parents and other friends that can help us in our own parenting when we have to move through this with our own children. So that's an important one. I'm as guilty as anyone else, right? I mean, in fact, Corey and I just had a conversation about my daughter. She's staying out in Seattle for the summer, and I have drawn a hard line about rent, and Corey said to me, he goes, oh, we'll see. We'll see how hard that line is, and whether you're gonna let her struggle a little bit. And this is me in my mama-ness going, oh gosh, she's gonna struggle. Yep, she is. Who made the decision to stay through the summer? She did. Who's a big girl with a college degree? She is. Is she gonna have to go without? Absolutely. But I have to remind myself, that's okay, that's okay, that's okay, because in the moment it is uncomfortable for me, and I know it is for her. And so I need not only my husband, but my friends are reminding me, this is good, because when she calls and says, my friends are going out to Bainbridge Island for the weekend and I don't have enough money, I'm gonna go, well, right? So these are the really, really difficult day in, day out decisions that we have to make. Just bringing my own example in just to let you know I'm not free of any of this. So I'm teaching myself as much as you guys.